Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles of lasting love. Well, happy Resurrection Day. I know, it's been a long time no see. Please forgive me, please forgive me. But I want to say right out the gate, today is probably the most exciting and most likely the most favorite time of year for me. I really enjoy Easter service. I really enjoy the Easter season, primarily because of the fact, you get everything's new. I mean, it's springtime, everything is, in a sense, born again or resurrected. You get everyone's getting new clothes, you're getting new shoes, everything is new people coming into your church, new big meals. It's just a great time, but more importantly, it's new life in Messiah. And the reason I love Resurrection Day is because it's all about new life. It's all about second chances. And so that's what I want to discuss with you guys today. I want to talk to you about second chances. I have one question though. Have you ever experienced a time in your life when you felt your love life was on life support? And I know that's probably a lot of people. The reason I say that is because it reminds me about an article that my bishop brought up during the service this morning. He was talking about 50% of the population of America is suffering from loneliness and despair. And I find that rather ironic because of the fact that many of us are online, and all of us are on some sort of social network, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the case may be, Instagram, and we're the most connected people on the planet. But yet and still, we have become the most isolated people on the planet. And I found that really ironic and, to be honest, rather sad. But that's one of the reasons why I think that Easter is probably the best time to talk about this issue on how to miraculously resurrect someone's dead love life. So I think what I want to do right now is I want to, talk about some terms that we need to be familiar with. And really what I want you to do is to give me your full attention right now, because I want to talk to you about what does resurrection really mean. Basically, from a biblical perspective, it means is a future bodily resurrection of the believer. That's number one. Number two, it is a future that God is a future justice that God himself will prevail on men. And lastly, it is the future transformation of believers into the image of Christ. Now, that's the end of my theology class. Now, that's just in part. I mean, it's more to the issue, but I don't want to go too deep into that. Now, here's the obvious question. What does that have to do, and how does that apply to resurrecting your dead relationships? That's really a good question. I'm glad you asked. Now, the answer simply is this. For something to become new, it must die first. For something to become new, it must die first. I hope you got that. Now you're probably asking yourself, Arnel, what do you mean? What are you trying to say to me? Well, here's the simple and the easy. The reason most people cannot resurrect their dead love lives is because you never become new. The reason most people can't resurrect their dead love lives because you never become or you never became new. Now, that kind of coincides again to another Bible scripture. It's this 1 Corinthians talks about, I'm sorry, not first, it's 2 Corinthians, I believe. It talks about old things have been passed away. Behold, all things become new. All right, so the point that I'm really making is to become a new person, you must first die to your past. You must die to your patterns. You must die to your type of people. You must die to the places you frequent. You must die to these dysfunctional priorities that you've developed over your lifetime. Now, I'm referring not just to women, I'm talking to men as well. And I'm asking you, I'm imploring you, what you need to do is give yourself a complete moral exam. You need to check all your motivations. You need to determine what your orientations are. You need to determine, do you have an entitlement orientation or do you share an enrichment orientation? Do you have a victim mentality or victor's mentality? Now, I know you're probably saying, okay, that don't seem to be fair, Arnil. Well, I understand that. But let me give you a news flash. Life isn't fair. Matter of fact, life can be brutally honest. Life can be very painful. And I would suggest to anyone listening to me is that when happiness does frequent and come in and do a drive-by in your life, you might want to try to hold on to it as briefly as you can, because it's not going to last. Trust and believe, happiness is going to hit and run. So I'm not trying to be overly pessimistic. I'm not even trying to be overly negative. All I'm suggesting is I'm just giving you guys the real. That's just how it is. All right. So in closing, what I need you guys to understand, you need to know that we have a moral obligation to personal responsibility for our love lives, no matter what the consequences we've been dealt. The reason is because God expects something from all of us. He expects something from all of us. If we corrupt ourselves through our failed relationships by believing we are victims of our relationships, then we are admitting that we do not have choice in how we respond to our failed relationships. Then what's the alternative then? Then how does the chaos and suffering we all collectively bear ever get mitigated? How can we minimize its effects on our lives? All we end up doing in the long run is damaging our character, our extended relationships, present and future. We add no real value to the world or anyone else that matter. So the question I ask of you again begs the question: how can we resurrect our dead love lives? For something to become new, it must be first. It must die first. You must first die to your past, your patterns, your peoples, your places, and dysfunctional priorities. That's my time. I thank you for yours. I catch you on the other side. God bless you.